I'm a member of a Red Sox nation. It's a kind of a family. Wherever I roam, a Fenway home, that's where I long to be. I'm a member of a Red Sox nation. It's a kind of insanity. Yeah, I live and die with Red Sox pride for eternity. I fake a smile November until opening day. Suffering baseball withdrawal around the clock. When April comes, hey, meet me down on Yankee Way. That's when Red Sox Nation starts to rock. I'm a member of a Red Sox nation. It's a kind of a family. Wherever I roam, a Fenway home, that's where I long to be. I'm a member of a Red Sox nation. It's a kind of insanity. Yeah, I live and die with Red Sox pride for eternity.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 51 of the Avid Boston Podcast, presented by AVIDBOSTON.com. For those of you staying up late with us on Periscope, we are back after not being able to broadcast in that form in the previous episode, which was not my favorite episode. Terrible audio quality, and I do apologize for that. I will never record another episode in a huge, echoey hotel ballroom corridor ever again. I promise you that. But for those staying up late, the SoundCloud version will be uploaded within 30 minutes of the conclusion of this broadcast and will be available on iTunes by hopefully your AM commute. So look for it there. And also, I did include the link in the Periscope, so you can actually click that directly above this little video window to find both of those formats on there. So, and I'll do my best to keep including that in the future. Red Sox wrapped up a 4-game set against the Astros. Went a little bit better than I personally expected. But, I'm, Debbie Downer, Negative Nancy, whatever you want to call me. I expected a 1 out of 3. But one guy who was right on the money was my co-host, Dave Kwiatkowski. Accurately predicted the 2 for 2. David, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. So why don't you give us the quick rundown?
Yeah, it didn't look good to start the series. We had Pomeranz doing Drew Pomeranz thing, 3 things, throwing 1,000 pitches in 3 innings. He looked okay, but okay for him is, 5 innings and not giving up 100 runs. We got to McCullers' pitch count, but couldn't push too many runs across as we ended up just kind of failing a little bit. And Giles getting the save in his always interesting fashion. Next up, we had Sale against Cole, and the Astros continue to dominate Chris Sale. 4 runs in 6 innings for Sale, including a home run in there as Garrett Cole throws 100 in 7 innings and continues to have a great year. He's 6-1. Joe Kelly has his first big hiccup of the year as we blow that game. 3 runs in the 8th, we lose 7-3. The savior, David Price, of all people, comes in and pitches a great game. Has a quality start, throws a lot of over 100 pitches for the first time since coming back from injury. Really showed a lot of balls there as he comes out, and we scored 3 in the 7th on Christian Vasquez, tying home run. Benny Tendy's huge home run. Benny Biceps crushes a moonshot, and Kimbrel comes in for the save. And then tonight, we had Rick Porcello pitching again like the Cy Young self of a few years ago. 6 1/3, 2 runs, thanks to Eduardo Nunez, making another run coming across. As the bullpen comes in and settles it down, and we tie it up 2-2 as Charlie Morton struggles, and we tee off against them.
Yeah, that was might have been one of the worst starts for Morton this year. He's having, obviously, a breakout year in his age. I can't remember if it's his 33 or 34-year season. So we'll definitely take a start like that against him. Also joining us tonight, as he often does and is essentially a very regular contributor to the Avid Boston podcast. He can be found on Twitter at Cap Hartsfield, and he is one half of the Double Coverage podcast, which could be found on iTunes. Austin Hartsfield, how are you?
I've never been more happy about winning 2 games.
Yeah, this was the ALCS. Let's see, we would be we'd be heading into Game 5, depending on whichever team has home field, and compared to the last few years, we would take that, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. The funny thing was like I said, I was a little more pessimistic about it, and after the first 2 games, it was going right according to the script that, I had written. We'd lost 2. I wasn't really feeling Sale versus Verlander. Price versus Verlander. I just figured it's his first tough test in a while. And if you think about it, Verlander is everything Price aspires to be. Great leader, can handle pressure, has a World Series ring now, and was really a successful guy, in the month of October anyway, despite being ringless until last season. And I just thought this is the perfect backdrop for Price to get shelled. But he silenced the haters, including myself, and kind of got the split rolling. The series split, I should say, rolling. And then Porcello tonight. I mean, it's kind of been a roller coaster for him, but you have to be happy about this start for sure.
Oh, it was a great start.
Ugly Ricky showed up for about 3 pitches, and then he was like, okay again.
Yeah. He wanted to get a little silly at the start, and he was like, oh, maybe we'll just start a home run brigade here and just, be a slugfest. But he quickly realized that's not what he wanted to do tonight.
Right, and he really, it got a little crazy for him there in the 7th inning, but, we got out of it after only giving up a couple runs. And what about Matt Barnes? I mean, I thought for sure his future wasn't very long-term after the way last season ended. And the thing that made tonight especially great is it was on the road, and his home road splits are like night and day, and typically he does not do well on the road. So it was nice to see him, come out and basically shut them down in a big inning, in a semi-intense environment, compared to what we've been facing for most of the year.
Yeah, he came out, I mean, his home and away splits haven't been great, but his one continuous thing that is great on both splits is his inherited runners. He's been great with inherited runners this year, and I like that. I think it's important for a guy that can just come in whenever. We have this problem with Kimbrel where sometimes he comes in with guys on and he can't deal with it. And it seems to me that Matt Barnes can do that. And that's a really good thing, because with starting pitching the way we have it with, we kind of just, Cole will kind of feel his gut and kind of feel guys out there. We will take guys out like we did Porcello tonight. And when we get bad defense along the way, that doesn't really help out either. So I like Barnes. I think he has a place in this team, especially with all the injuries. You got guys like Carson Smith out, Tyler Thornburg. I don't even know if he's a real person anymore. You have a lot of things going on in that bullpen that he definitely holds a spot in the 6th or 7th inning, and for exact things like that tonight.
I'm starting to think we got catfished with Tyler Thornburg.
We honestly might have. He honestly might be like Daniel Bard.
I just don't understand.
That's a great conspiracy. Does Tyler Thornburg really exist?
Like, have we ever seen Tyler Thornburg in person yet? Like, outside of the Red Sox? Like, are they just throwing a guy that looks like him?
This is like the Mets. This is like the Mets guy about like 20 years ago that could throw like 150 on the nose, and they got the fan base believing. Just fooled everybody when he didn't.
Sid Finch
actually show up.
Yeah, that was the April Fool's Day thing. Yeah,
it was great.
That gets talked about. Getting back to Barnes, though, Dave, you make a great point, because he does do well, especially lately, with inherited runners, and Kimbrel has obviously struggled with that. And Joe Kelly is really another guy who at times struggles with innings that, already have runners on. So that's like a huge need that the Red Sox had And if Barnes can continue, with this trend, that's there's a lot of value in a guy like him.
Yeah, I mean, to have a guy like him come out of your bullpen on a playoff team is huge. I mean, you look at guys like Brad Hand, the closer out in San Diego. He could pretty much come in whenever, but, it's San Diego. They stink. So to have Barnes be able to come in and handle a high-level situation when there's other guys on the team that can't is massive. And you got guys that are on this team right now that like the moment. And it's guys like Erod. I feel like Porcello likes the moment. I really do. David Price, I don't think likes the moment, but this year he's been pitching. He doesn't. But he's been pitching well in the moment this year, I got to say. When he's been under the gun, he went complete game. And tonight he was under the gun. Yesterday he was under the gun, and he had a really good start. So I feel like he's starting to turn that around now. And I think Chris Sale's great, when the pressure's on as well.
Sale looks for it.
Yeah. Sale literally gets up in the morning hoping that it's a 1-0 game going to the ninth and he has the ball. And that's a great mentality to have as well. I think that this team is starting to show more life that you didn't see last year, even though we played well. You look at how the end of the year was last year. I believe that ended when we clinched on a what's it called? What was that 2 years ago? We clinched on the walk-off loss.
On a loss, yeah.
Yeah. So those guys, most of those guys still on the team, but it's the other outside factors that are coming into play. It's Cora being more of a player's manager, kind of interacting with the team more. It's Brock Holt being lovable in the clubhouse and in the dugout and hugging it out with JD Martinez. It's getting a guy like Ortiz again with JD hitting the ball that you're able to actually have a little life in this dugout, a little life in the team. And now when we're down 3-2, against Houston in Houston, I don't think this team's going to lose. I think they actually can come back, where last year, especially in the playoffs and the year before that, when this team was down to a good team, I pretty much chalked it up as a loss. And if you go back and look at all those extra inning wins we had when we were like 15-3, most of them were against pretty bad teams.
And they're either against bad teams or they're against teams like Seattle. I remember a couple of the comeback wins against Seattle. And just they had no life. The way we clinched last year was basically summed up the season, didn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, because it was coming down to whether or not maybe Chris Sale would have to pitch. And did he? I don't remember. It came right down to the wire. We were losing, what was it, 5 out of the last 6 or something. And
yeah, we stumbled in. I think Sale was going to have to go, but we ended up getting there without him, I think.
Okay.
Because he pitched.
I think we got there without him.
Yeah.
I think so, too, because didn't he pitch game 1 against the Astros?
He definitely did, yeah.
Yeah, so I think we got there without him, but he was gassed anyway.
Yeah, it was just really nerve-wracking, and it was starting to look last season like maybe we might end up being forced into a one-game wild card, which I don't think we would have won, to be honest with you.
No, the way we were playing, we were lucky. It's funny. Excuse me. It's typical Red Sox, the team that was last year, where they had this incredible run and, they're playing so well for like the middle chunk of the season, then they slowed down. And you look at that Houston series, and they got blown out the first 2 games, right? Doors blown off the place. It was awful. Game 3, they actually turned it around, and they played really well. We put up like 7 runs or something like that. Game 4, we had in the bag, and we blew it.
Yeah.
Like, we easily could have went to Game 5 against the World Series champion, and that was just so perfectly Red Sox last year, where they're so hot and cold.
Yeah.
Red Sox always. They just give us a glimmer of hope, and then
that's true. They always give us a glimmer.
They just swipe it away from us.
They do.
We really just haven't been a great September team for a while outside of 2013, really.
Oh, my God. Does anyone remember 2011? That was so fun.
Yeah.
That was the worst month of my life. But, yeah, and last year was just such a weird ending. How many teams have ever had to wrap up a 4-game set against the team that they're about to play for 5 games?
That was so
that
weird.
was the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah, so it was just, and there was so many things going on behind the scenes because, number one, I think Price was healthy enough to start for sure, but the inmates were kind of running the asylum, and Farrell was kind of afraid to put his foot down. I think if Alex Cora was managing that team, I think Price probably starts, willingly too. I don't think he would even start kicking and screaming. I don't
think so. Yeah, I agree.
So you have that going on, and then to this day, I know I'm a Pedroia hater, and we're going to get to him in